Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to learn how to create these bowling pins. Alright, so let's get started now. So we're going to go ahead and grab an image from Google, and then so we can use it as a reference, and then go ahead and copy and paste it into your document, and we're going to create a new layer and call it stroke, because this is where we're going to do our outlines. And then these are the colors that I'm going to use right here. You could use whatever colors you want. You can make it the same white and red, or you can use your own. And if you want to know what these colors are, I'm gonna have them down in the description below. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is create a circle. Let's grab our circle tool, and then we're just gonna go about to the middle of the page and just hit Shift Control Alt on your keyboard. So hold those buttons and then drag it out to make a perfect circle like so, and get rid of your fill. And our stroke will be 8-point stroke. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is drag this guy a little bit downward like that, and now we're gonna go ahead and grab our rectangle, so a rectangle tool. So if you look on the left hand side, rectangle tool, and then hit M on your keyboard to select them. And now we're just gonna go ahead and go into the center of this circle and make it the same width of the circle, and then bring it down all the way like that. Boom, look at that. Now we're just gonna bring this guy down to halfway point of our circle, and now it fits perfectly in there. And now what we're gonna do is grab both these shapes, select both of the shapes, and then just hit add. Shabam, there you go. And now what we're gonna do is hit A on our keyboard, and we're gonna create a whole new node on the left hand side. So just click right there once, and it'll create a whole new node. And then we're gonna convert it smooth, and then we're gonna bring it in like a little bit like that. And then we're gonna grab this guy on the bottom, on that bottom left corner node, and grab it and drag it in. So hold Shift and drag it in a little bit like so. And then now what we're gonna do is, you see this little node that we created right here? Well, if you look closely, there's a blue handle. There's a little blue dot. You're gonna grab on that blue dot and drag outward like this, following the shape of your pin. And what that will do is just extend your line out. It'll bring out your line in the direction that you're pulling. And then now what we're gonna do is just grab this guy a little bit farther down and bring him in a little bit like that. And then now you're gonna grab the left little node on the bottom, and you're just gonna drag it a little bit too. And now you can see it also created another blue handle, and we're just gonna bring this blue handle out like that. And we're gonna make it fat. Okay, you want to make it really fat, because what we're gonna do is cut the shape in half, and if we don't make it really fat, our bowling pin isn't gonna be very wide. And now you can see it's making this, and if you look closely at the top, it's got this little point here. So to get rid of that, we're gonna select one of these this shape right here. We're gonna select this node, and we're gonna drag out a little bit this side right here, and it'll create a whole little handle you can grab to. And we're just gonna fix that, and now it's not, you can drag it out a little bit, and now it's not pointed, so now it's a nice curve right there. Okay, and then now we're just gonna play around with this a little bit more, so it's not as like sharp curve anymore. And that looks good to me. So now what we're gonna do is grab our rectangle tool again and create a whole rectangle in the center of this shape that we have. So center it and make it bigger and wider than it. And now what we're gonna do, and make it on the right hand side, because we're gonna use our left hand side of the shape that we created. So now once you got that rectangle down, you're gonna select both shapes and then hit subtract. Boom, now you got half of your shape that you created. Okay, so now hit Control J on your keyboard, and then we're gonna go up here and flip horizontal, and we're gonna hold Shift and drag to the right to where it's touching. So you see that it's right next to it, right on top of it. Now you're gonna select both objects and then hit add. Shabam, now you got your nice bowling pin. Look at that. Now we don't need this reference image anymore. And look at that, you got a nice bowling pin right here. Nice fat bowling pin. Alright, so now you're gonna hit C on your keyboard, and what we're gonna do is select our shape, and then we're gonna grab the center of this shape right here. So hit C on your keyboard, and then we're just gonna drag down. Oh no, hit A on your keyboard, my bad. hit A on the keyboard and then go to the center of your pin and just gonna hold shift and drag down a little bit like that. Just a small curve, and that's the bottom of the bowling pin. Look at that. Wow, it looks great, doesn't it? I think it looks pretty nice. Looks pretty neat, not gonna lie. So now we're gonna go ahead and create our little lines on the bowling pin. So just select P on your keyboard for the pen tool, hold shift and go on the other side, and we're just gonna follow along the lines of our bowling pin. So what you're gonna do is create lines like this and like that, and boom, close it off by going to the beginning point that you had. And now we're just gonna turn this guy into a 5-point stroke instead of an 8-point stroke. And then now we're gonna go in the center of the page and hold shift and drag down a tiny bit, and then again to the top and drag down a tiny bit. And now what you're gonna do is just duplicate this object, so Control J and then drag it down by holding shift. And then we're just gonna go ahead and adjust these nodes. So hit A on your keyboard and then just select these nodes and hold shift and arrow keys to make it fit your shape that you currently have. And then select these bottom guys, and we're just gonna make it a tiny bit smaller. There you go. And now you got those little, what do you call them? These little red lines that these pins have right here. See that? Nice, nice. Okay, dokie. So now that you have that, we're actually gonna drag these guys down a little bit more. About here, cool. And then we're just gonna go ahead and modify it a little bit. Boom. All right, cool. Just do some little modifications to get it right. Shoo. And it's the fun thing about making vectors is that you just gotta make little tweaks to get things looking just right. All right, that looks good enough. So there we go. Now we got that down. Awesome. That's the base shape of our pins. Okay, so now once you got that down, you're gonna duplicate that whole layer, your stroke layer, and then you're gonna hit Control L on the top one so you can lock the layer so you don't move it by accident. And the second one, we're just gonna rename it color. So just call it color. And then we're gonna go ahead and hit enter on the keyboard. And now what we're gonna do is hold shift and grab all your objects, and then up here on the appearance tab, which can get rid of all the strokes. And then now what we're gonna do is grab this very bottom one, just select your main bowling pin shape, and for that fill, we're just gonna go ahead and make it the cyan color. Ooh, look at that. And then now for our little stripes, we're gonna go ahead and select both of them, and we're gonna turn them to purple. Look at that. Oh, it looks so nice. It's so nice. Yes. Okay. And that is our bowling pin. And now we're just gonna add some details. So we're gonna make a whole new layer and call it shadows. Okay. And then now what we're gonna do is, this is our light source right here. So what we're gonna do now is just grab your pen tool. So hit P on your keyboard, and we're gonna make a shape like this. So like that, and it's gonna be following our pin. Okay, so now once you get to this point, you're just gonna go back to the original point that you started off with to close the shape off. And now hit A on your keyboard for the curve tool, and we're just gonna move it around, or the node tool, and adjust these lines so it's hidden underneath our stroke. And then just make the curve like that, curve your shape like that. And then now we're gonna go ahead and just fill that color up, and make sure your shape that you just created is in the right layer, because mine didn't go in the right layer. All right, and so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and have the same color that we currently have. So just make it the same color that is the pin. Okay. And then now what we're gonna do is go to your lightness tab and make it really dark, very dark. Okay, and then we're gonna do 50% opacity. Shabam! There we go. 50% opacity. Simple as that. Simple when you know how. All right. So now what we're gonna do is create more shadows. So now grab your pen tool, and we're gonna create another little shadow on this side. But instead of doing it the way we just did it, we're just gonna go ahead and make like a line like so. And then what we're gonna do is make this guy that same dark cyan color, and then we're gonna make a 12-point stroke. And go to your pressure and your stroke pressure, so it's right here, and you're gonna grab this this little right node. You see this line? You're gonna grab the right side node and hold Alt on your keyboard and drag it down. And as you can tell, my line is tapering from top to bottom, so it's going from thick to thin. And now you got this nice little curve right here, and we're just gonna go ahead and do about 25% opacity. And now you got a nice little shadow, and we're just gonna adjust it a little bit. There you go. And I have a nice little shadow on that side. And that's how we're gonna create our shadows and our highlights as well. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is grab this guy. So we're gonna duplicate it, Control J, flip it around, and we're just gonna adjust it and put it beneath our first shadow we created. So we're just gonna make it a little bit smaller and just move it around like so. Okay. Boom, look at that, another shadow. Beautiful, beautiful. That's what we like to see. And so now what we're gonna do is create our highlights now. So we're just gonna go ahead and create a new layer, and we'll name it highlights. Alright, now that you got that down, we're just gonna hit our pen tool again, P on the keyboard, and then we're just gonna make a selection right here, and then one right here, and we're just gonna curve it like this, and we're gonna put it closer to that edge of our pen for our strokes. And look at that. And now we're gonna go ahead and back on our color panel, we're just gonna go ahead and make it pretty much white, and then bump up the opacity like all the way up. And now you got a nice little highlight right there. Look at that, beautiful highlight. Now we create another highlight right here, like so. And then instead of having it go from thick to thin, we're gonna go ahead and just go back to our pressure right here on the right hand side and hit save profile, so we could save this profile right here of our line of our stroke pressure. And then we're gonna hit reset and then hit the center of this guy right there, and then we're just gonna grab one of the ends and drag it down. And as you can see now, what it's doing is turning our stroke, our little line that we have right here, it's thinning out the edges, the ends of it, so leaving the middle thick. See, now you got that nice little stroke right there. Boom. Okay, so now you got another little highlight right there, and then we're just gonna add one more highlight right here, just like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and make this middle part of it a little bit thinner by dragging down the middle part in our stroke pressure like that. Now you got a nice little highlight, and then we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna do about 50% opacity on this guy. There you go. Now you got a nice little highlight right there, and that's pretty much all your pin. Boom. And we're just, you know what, we're just gonna go ahead and add a little tiny detail to this purple. We're just gonna add a little highlight to the purple too as well. So we're just gonna do like this, and then we can make it 6-point stroke so it's not so thick, like that. And we're just gonna duplicate it and then drag it down. So Control J and then hold Shift to drag it down to the next part, and there you go. Now you got little highlights in that part. Nice. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's how you get your bowling pins. But now what we're gonna do is go ahead and get rid of this guy. Now what we're gonna do is go ahead and grab all your layers and hit Control G to make one big group. And now what we're going to do is export it as an SVG. So you're going to go to File, and then Export, and you're going to go hit SVG, and then we're going to export selection only. So it only exports what we have currently selected, which is our whole group, as you can see here. This is what it's going to export, and then you're going to hit Export. All right. And then it's gonna export as an SVG, and you're gonna bring it back into this document so we could adjust it. And I'm gonna go ahead and export, and then I'll see you guys back when we get to that point. All right. Okay, so we're back, and I brought I brought in our exported SVG, and so now what we're going to do is go back to our main reference, and then we can go ahead and get rid of our color palette. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is just layer it like this. You see how it's separated right here? We're going to go ahead and just make this little shape of for our pins too as well. Alright, so that's pretty easy. We're just going to focus on making one side. Alright, so now what we're going to do is grab your main bowling pin, hit Ctrl J, and then on your layers panel, we're just going to select the bottom one, and we're going to move it over slightly to the right, like so. And so you can see it's going to have that bit of an overlap. So now what you're going to want to do is hit Control Alt, and then just grab the corner of it, and we're just going to make it slightly smaller, okay? Just slightly smaller, like that. Boom, perfect. And now we're going to create the illusion that it's going from, you know, farther from the very first to the farthest back, alright, by doing this whole same process. So just again, Control J, and then on your layers panel, just grab the very bottom one, and we're going to go ahead and just hold Shift, and again, drag it to the right, and then just hold Control Alt, and make it a little bit smaller as well. Boom, there you go. And then now we're going to go ahead and just do that one more time. There we go. Now that we got that down, nice, look at that, starting to come together. So now that we have all that, what you're going to want to do is select the pins that you just created. Not this middle one, but just these three that you created. So grab all of these guys together, hit Control G to group it together, hit Control J on your keyboard, and then flip horizontal. Now we're just gonna drag it right here. We're also gonna drag it and make it as even as the right side. So just glue it up once, and there you go. It looks pretty good. And that's how you create your bowling pins. Look at that. Now it looks exactly like a reference image. Yeah, it does. And then from here on out, you can just kind of tweak it a little bit. Look at that. That's so beautiful. Now it looks like, you know, our bowling pins. And now you can just add the small details and just create shadows on the bottom. Alright? If you like this video, go ahead and drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and if you do all that, you'll receive a picture of this fox. Alright? See you later. Have fun. Bye. Peace.